Before making her home in Sacramento, Taylor Gutermute lived and worked in San Francisco and New York City. She has an impulse to assemble bits and pieces into a larger whole as she shapes her sheet metal sculptures, which she paints with a powdered pigment that is fused onto the colorful works suitable for display inside or out. So Taylor, are you with us today? She's there. We just have to get her to turn the camera on, I think. Hi, Taylor. Hi. And now we got to unmute. I can't hear you yet. Yay, there you are.
There we are. Hi, welcome to my studio.
Thank you. I am so happy to meet you. We share a friend, Henrietta Sparkman in Modesto.
Oh my goodness.
She's always saying, do you know Taylor? Do you know Taylor? And I'm always like, I haven't met her yet. And I am so happy to meet you today.
Thanks.
Small world.
Yeah.
So how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm ready to rock and roll here. I'd like to show you around my studio.
All right, well, let's do it.
Okay. Well, over here, I have my main tool, one of my main tools for cutting metal. I used a sheet metal, about 22 gauge, and this is called a dragon. And when I'm cutting away with this, there's fire coming out, ergo the name dragon. And that gives me a kind of a rough edge on my metal when I want to use that. And we'll just come around, take a look over this side. Of course, it's a storage cabinet. I see you have one back there too. And over here on the back wall, you'll see some color samples of the powder coating and little projects that I've done. Back here is some more art. There's one using brass up there on the wall. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. Back here, this gives you an idea of how I start a piece of work. I'll make what's called a maquette, or a little miniature of what I'm planning to do. Here's one I want to start with this about 4 feet tall, or they can be little things like this just to get a plan going, or maybe it's just on paper. Like this is for a fence, going inside a fence. So when I have that maquette made, then I cut the pattern pieces, the actual size that I'll be using on the metal, and that's what you see back here. This is a piece of metal around the edge, but this is just paper, and I can keep moving them around until I get the design I like, and then I'll take them out and actually put them down on the metal, and just like when people used to sew, you know, they'd have a sewing pattern. And then back here are some of my other tools. Sander, grinder, a drill press over here. And then back here, I've set up, there's two new pieces on the wall. These are both commissions. And this one's for a garden, a backyard. And it's just very colorful. So this is like called Garden Symphony, because it's picking up all the colors in her garden. The pigment I use is powder coating, as was mentioned in my bio. It's a very fine powder, and I mix it up and paint it on the piece, and then I take it to a powder coater, and they set it, and so it's on there. They use it on bicycles and motorcycles and outdoor furniture. So it's so nice because it can be indoors or outdoors. This piece is also commissioned, and this I had powder coated black, and then I'm going to use that as a base coat. And when I paint the piece, which I'm still working on how we're going to do that, what the design of the paint. Here's where I got carried away with my nuts and bolts that I used to join the piece. This is called a spine tree, and it's all put together with nuts and bolts.
And so do you do all this work inside that space right there?
I do. well, except when I use the dragon, I have a bigger space. I have to be out there and all suited up with my mask and big gloves and so forth. But the cutting, yeah, this is, let me just show you that you mentioned the cutting. This is an electric shear, and that I cut the metal if I want more kind of straight lines. And then I have another one that I can cut curves with. And so they're you know, good heft, but you clamp the metal down and keep your muscles in shape. You can do this.
Yeah, that's great. That's really inspiring. So I hear you do public art commissions.
I do.
Something I'm trying to break into myself, or starting to dabble in. There's a person here that asked of you, can you share with us what was one of your most gratifying commissions and or one of your most challenging commissions?
Oh, well, I think actually the first one is what really got me launched onto doing this. I had made a piece to go on the end of my studio that I had on Del Paso and Arden, and so I just made this piece on my own, and it's the metal woven into a welded wire grid. And a lady drove by it who is an art consultant, and she loved it, and she contacted me, and she said, well, I'd like you to do a piece for the Sacramento Heart and Vascular Center, and it should be about 14 feet. Can you do that? So that was really the first big public art piece I did. And sure enough, it's you can still see it there. It's way up in the top of the second floor, and then it goes down and through an opening, so it shows on the first floor as well. So she really got me launched into this, and that was great. And that inspired me to work with the Sacramento Arts Commission and try for their grants. So I've applied for a lot of those. I got a big one. This is more than you asked me, but this is a big one on Del Paso Boulevard, just when you get off of Highway 160. And so it's these 5 two-sided panels that depict the history of the area. And then the more recent one is probably the one that's out at Natomas Park. And it's, you can actually see a little video when CW31 TV station interviewed me out there when it was installed. And it's on YouTube, and you can go to YouTube and still see that little interview which talks about the piece. But this is one of 8 pieces, and you can see they're pretty big. So that was great. And then I did a piece for the mayor's office that was just hung for a month, but that's a favorite piece of mine as well.
Tell me about that piece. What is that piece?
Oh, well, this is a vortex, and you know, it's a swirling mass and so forth. So I did this for the mayor's office, and what I told him was this vortex represents all the swirling around in Sacramento and being, you know, the mayor of a big city and head of a city council. And so there's all this energy swirling around. But then you notice that there's triangles, okay, in there. And triangles are the most stable geometric figure. So that represents you, Mayor Steinberg, and your city council, because they can hold this whole big swirling mass together. So,
what did he say to that? What did Daryl have to say about that?
He said, oh, okay, I'll take that. So that was fun to have that up there for a month.
Yeah, well, congratulations on all these wonderful commissions you've gotten. That's really impressive.
Thank you.
So what keeps you motivated to create your artwork? It sounds like you've been doing this for a while.
Well, I have, you know, ever since I was a child, I was drawing and cutting out, and my sister would do paper dolls, but I'd make my own dolls. Just there's that physicality, and I always liked working with my dad, and he would have big projects that he'd do in the house and outside, and that's kind of where I got my love of and learned about using all different tools, because I use really a lot of hand tools here, and so just putting those bits and pieces together just seemed to be what I would do. I tried drawing and painting, but I'm just more physical than that, and the way I like to work. And so it just keeps going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I see your work, what little I've seen of it, but now that you've gone through some of your projects, I know I've seen them. I know I've looked at them in person, in public. But the piece behind you, the black one, I kind of like it, that color. It reminds me a little bit of Louise Nevelson or Lee
Oh,
Bonifue,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because of but it sounds like you're going to put color on that. And then some of your other pieces remind me of maybe, you know, Frank Stella's works or Judy Pfaff. So do you have any influences or artists that inspire your work?
Well, as a matter of fact, you just mentioned two of them. Um, I took a leave of absence from my job years ago when I was 50 and went to New York City and did my MFA at the School of Visual Art there. So I was.
That's where I went.
Oh, really?
You
We have
shared
more.
that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I lived there for 2 years and I loved it. It was fantastic. And Alice Aycock was actually one of my teachers. She's the artist that did that big piece in the community center here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was an influence. And Frank Stella and Frank Gehry
Mm-hmm.
and Louise, of course. Yeah. So those are some of my influences. I uh, get a lot of ideas and energy. I guess it's, oh, and Richard Chamberlain, the one that smashes up car pieces.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that yet, but once I saw this bumper laying alongside my road near my house, oh, I said, oh, look at that car bumper. So I waited about 2 weeks. It was still there. I'll just, I guess I could just take it as, you know, it's there. And I'll go look at it. Got out, look at. Do you know what bumpers are made out of? They're not metal. They're not metal.
Yeah.
Plastic. So that was a little disappointment. I buy big sheets of 4 foot by 7 foot sheet metal and start from there.
Yeah.
Cut it all up.
I love that. Let's see. I'm trying to find a question here that we haven't answered quite yet. It looks like you got a lot of fans, people weighing in. Deborah Pittman says she's a huge fan of your work. And
well, I always donate to the KVIE auction.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's coming up, and there's an unusual piece of mine in that auction. And then the Crocker Small Works auction. It's always just a delight to be able to donate in that way.
What is a typical day like for you in the studio these days? Is there anything that's changing in your schedule, or is it just, for some people, COVID has just not changed anything about their process or their production?
Well, it's probably given me more studio time because, you know, I'm being very careful and I don't go out much anymore. And so I have that time to work in the studio. And of course, I've been so fortunate to get these commissions, which there's always something, you know, waiting there to get going on. So I'll come out, and it just depends where I am in the process. Sometimes I'm out in my bigger space with a big sheet of metal on these steel sawhorses with the plasma cutter. And sometimes I'm in here working at smaller ones, and I've got the drill going at one end to drill the holes in my pieces and putting them together at the other end. And oh, I have a whole assortment of nuts and bolts here.
Somebody was asking if you go through a lot of Band-Aids, and somebody else was wondering how you lift that steel. I think you must have some workout tips for us.
Yeah, just keep working. Just keep doing it. Don't stop. And I forget the other part of that question, but these are, I joined the metal using nuts and bolts, and these are my little favorite acorn nuts.
Oh.
Yeah, so I try not to use things that you just find at Home Depot. You know, I have a fastener, and that's part of what you see on this piece too. Yeah, people are really liking this. It looked, when I didn't have it powder coated yet, they said, oh, it looks like a sheet of armor, because of course it was the metal color, you know, reminded them of that period. Yeah, but this is for a very special client of mine. This is the second piece she's commissioned. She has one outside. Now this is going inside. And I'm still working on the ideas for the colors. We'll
Well, I
see.
am so glad to have gotten a chance to visit with you today and to put a face to the work and the name. And I hope that the world clears up and we can have a conversation in person someday, because you're fun to talk to.
Well, thank you. And thanks for everybody who joined.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Would you like to
that.
plug a website or a social media
Oh, yes.
handle?
If you should be interested in a commission or looking at my work, just you have my website in the catalog, Taylor at Taylor for Art, TAYLORFORART.com. So if you want to contact me, please do. And I also have a studio at Art House on R down at 10th and R, and that's more to show my work. I do some work there, planning work and that kind of thing, but I can't bring all this metal upstairs, and it's upstairs. So that's Art House at 10th and R. And you can go on their website and check to see when they're open, because of course they're following all the guidelines that we have now with COVID. So yes, give me a call.
All right.
Shoot me an email. We'll see. We'll put you on my list.
Can you pronounce your last name so I can learn how to say that better?
Okay, it's Gutermute. Guter,
Gutermute. Okay,
and
I did okay.
it's German. It means good disposition.
Oh, I love that.
Well, it's true sometime.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Taylor. I think it's time I'm supposed to move on to our last artist of the day, or this visit. But I'm glad we talked today, and I hope you have a great studio tour.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.